Okay, so you do have a lot of experience with the voices. You do get tortured, and you've been in some pretty bad situations, but that doesn't take away that you may know some tricks or things to do that will be successful and help other people. Like for one, getting out of schizophrenia and getting out of the mind warp that it puts you in. What worked for me was blind faith that it wasn't correct. To a certain degree, when you're in it, things go to prove that it is real. So if you have blind faith, you can start piecing together things um, that make logical connections to it not being real. And there's some pretty key things that I bet a lot of schizophrenics have experienced, like the water in the tub, completely changing. Like I had superpowers, being able to push it and stuff, or see my dad in double, for instance. Um, little things like that are always good to hold on to. And another thing, like the Indiana Jones, when Indiana Jones is in the library and he is banging on the floor at the exact same time as the librarian is stamping his book, the association there. So if anybody out there experiences moments where someone says, look up, then right, or something, and they feel that, they looked right at the exact same time, and they're like, oh my god, how did they know that? Well, it's just a coincidence. And then there's another one, kind of like, the voices kind of tempted me, or it was myself. No, definitely was tempted by the voice, or probably a little bit myself. Sure, why not? And it was to the point where I was trying to control people to make them do things like, I don't know, look left or right or whatever it was. And what happens there is, um, basically, you are thinking it, and you'll realize that you're thinking many different thoughts. Like you'll think, okay, look right, look left, look down, look up, look right, or walk over there, or walk over there. And then one of these times, one out of 50 times or 60 times, you can imagine if someone's looking in different directions, how often you get it right. Well, in that circumstance, probably a bunch of times, that you'd be like, oh my god, wow, there's some sort of um, disconnect in a certain sense where if you say look right and he looks right, you believe it all of a sudden. All right, let me just get this together. Um, you'll find that in your mind, if you do it a lot and you test it, it could be possible. It depends how the voices want to deal with this. Um, that when you do say for something to happen, like someone to move a certain direction or whatever, um, that you can almost test it with yourself, like um, doing one repetitive task and telling it to move, and you'll find that your mind is very vulnerable, we'll say, to the movement and believing that you're doing it. And so there's, the disassociation that you have to do there, um, and understanding. And let me just go through my mind right now. There's definitely a lot of disconnecting that got me a long way. I think the major thing though that was okay. So a major part of it is definitely taking your medication. You just want to keep going until you find the right type of medication, and mine was 350 milligrams of the clozapine, and that was fantastic. Um, there's different things that you can do. Things that I found really helpful, when trying to go to sleep, were to, you know, I would uh, I would focus on the movie. And okay, so things got really bad for me at one point. It was pretty much to the point where I was focusing on the movie, and every scene, every little scene that I went through, there was a perception of something that I wasn't creating, or some sort of disruption that I would get, some sort of voice that would distract me, give me a thought, and I wouldn't be able to um, cohesively put the whole movie together. So what I did was, every time, without complaint to the voices, of course, at all, they definitely didn't want to hear any of that. There was no um, There was no please stop interrupting me. There definitely was no option there. And just remembering to being really into it, like sitting up in my chair and pretending like it was, really very important, and that I was really excited and really into it. And even if I was suppressed or something like that or being beaten down, just having the ability to keep my eyes open and to act like I'm really interested, acting kind of gives you the emotion too, and gives you the, we'll say, uh, the s- the standpoint of being interested. And so, anyways, I would do that, and then every time the voices would interrupt me or um, change my thought or that, I would just rewind it and then watch the part again, and then even if it would take me 4 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours a day, 2 days to watch one movie, I would do it, and I would string it together um, with all the pieces of the movie that I had from before. And so if they're putting you through an experience where it's hard to, get a focus on reality, if you watch this movie in, if you watch the movie in full, and every time they interrupt you, I mean, you you rewind it back and get the correct perception of it, then you have a full view of the movie. And so then things like when you're sleeping and you're trying to disconnect, or sorry, just before you're about to go to sleep, you can lie in bed and then you can focus on the movie, on the parts that you had. And also, I found that, keeping, a bit of my focus on the movie, and I realized that I had a lot of extra focus left over. I would do things like focus up on my head, so above my head, then focus down by my feet, below my feet. And it even got to a point where I was, actually, I did it quite a bit. I would be focusing on the TV, so I'd have that image in my head, and then I'd be focusing on my foot, this exact same movement over and over and over again. I wouldn't let the voices try to influence me to go up the other foot or do, up a little bit, then down a little bit. So I would just go from my toes to my knee, then from my toes to my knee, constantly, same speed, same everything. Um, the point of that is to get the focus away from your face or your body, or to focus on something else and use all your focus. I also felt that at certain points, focusing like on my leather couch, there would be certain grooves in there. Oh, and so I'd focus on a little bit of the groove, and then I'd focus a little bit more on the groove, and then I'd remember the groove and the other piece of the groove, and then I'd focus on another piece, and then remember that piece and that piece, and remember the other piece, remember the other piece, and then focus on another piece, and try to tie it all in together as much as possible, trying to build that base memory. And so that was always good. The basic idea, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get yourself out of that reality that they're putting you in, and focusing on anything else and using up all your focus, because if you leave any of your focus, they're gonna do something with it, um, for the most part, I guess, in my situation. And if you've been through some serious hell, you know what I'm talking about. And so what else do I know? Oh yeah, basically, when you're walking around and stuff like that, there's a lot of focus on other people and just like, oh my God, this person's doing this or this person's doing that. I found that a lot of the association was a lot. Okay, a lot of the what to do there is to remember what it was like before you had schizophrenia and how people were around you and everything, and use that as like a basis for the most part. And focus on like the grass, how beautiful the grass looks. And I know this can be really hard. I was at a point with my schizophrenia too before where I had these really horrible memories, and it, the voices would not let me cry. I could not feel certain emotions. So, it's not something that's going to work right away. You have to keep pushing for it. You're talking about a couple of months here or something. And so you focus on the grass, focus on buildings, on how they're made, try to stay away from people and stuff. Try to keep it beautiful, refreshing. If a breeze comes by, appreciate the breeze that goes through you. If you get a nice sun view, appreciate that. Maybe thank God. Um, and what else here? I know I have some more stuff. Phone other people, blah blah blah, associations, blah blah blah. Um, um, Really, you need to find something that you love to do, and you have to do it. I would recommend maybe getting a job at like Pizza Pizza, where you are able to work as long as you want to work. You could work, 1 hour sessions, and I don't think it's the worst thing in the world if all of a sudden you went to hell and you just could not stay up or whatever, that you would cancel at 40 minutes, and it's not going to be the worst thing in the world. They have a bunch of people on at that time, so on good days you can work 8 hours, 10 hours, 4 hours, whenever it's convenient for you. And they've been really good with me. And what else? Something that you really love to do. I like to kind of like imagine it like, I've been sleeping too long and that my mind has gone into imaginary world, and that the more focused and the more alert and the more active I am, the more I get out of that world, the more focus I get. I realized that, a long time when I was in the game, I was kind of like gazing out with the voices. I was always kind of like gazed a little bit. Um, Kind of like I'm dreaming and I'm awake at the same time. Uh, yeah. Mm, a lot of it is disconnecting. There's definitely going to be some serious moments in there where, um, you're going to get emotionalized and things, and, you're just going to have to bear through it. And, like, even if you're getting, like, raped or something, you kind of have to just do your best to move normally and out of it like it's not affecting you. Um, I used to have like these loops around my lips and my face, and it was just kind of like it's on you, and I used to focus on it all the time, trying to fight it off and all this kind of stuff. But what basically came down to it was that I just had to, move through it like it wasn't there, and just pretend like it wasn't there, and just move forward and act as normal as possible. And then okay, so yeah, you want to be clean. That's something that I definitely struggled with for a long time. A lot of depression, just not caring. You're in so much hell. It just, who gives a shit, right? You want to be clean all the time. You want to, want to wear good clothing, um, and you want to be able to make relationships um, with regular people, like through whatever means. For me, it was online gaming, and just finding regular people there. And throughout that process, there's going to be a lot of different things. I guess so.
This was just an
Right now, but
emotional response.
there's
The
going to be
voices
things
were not
like
controlling me.
you might have paranoias towards certain things or whatever. Um, the basic point right here is to start talking to people that are regular people. And if your paranoia goes bad with someone, it's a game. You can start again the next day or something like that. If it goes bad, unfortunately, they might be the best people in the world, but if it's just not going good for you in your world, you need to stop talking to that person, and you need to go to somebody else and see if it works out for that person. And then just the more you start talking to people, um, the more normal you're gonna seem, the better practice you get. You see how they act, the thoughts that they have, and um, the friendship and camaraderie. Definitely goals. Like I used to, I would ask. I'm still doing it right now, but like ask God for, um, like moments when I was younger, when you were younger, where you would just like laugh off your ass, where your stomach would get sore, and so just kind of like you need to look look for those moments, and so build up those relationships, with friendship and stuff. And let's see, there's got to be more here around here somewhere. um, Clean place, definitely really important. Clean clothing, very important. The way you look to other people and to the voices is very important. Having a clean place, very important. Plus, it makes you feel good. So does the clothing. Little things like that make you feel really good. I love my plants. I've got six or eight plants, and it's just fantastic. I've got two air filtration systems, eight plants in one room, and it's my little man cave. I've got a disco light. I've got Christmas lights that are pretty cool. It's like purple and blue. And with the Christmas lights, it's cool because if I stare at them, it's almost like I can see sometimes that the voices are taking away some of the natural color and life of things. And then just staring at them kind of brings me back to times when I was maybe whatever 7, 8 years old, and there was like glow sticks and things that I used to have, and just the emotion that I felt when I was younger, and looking at maybe I've had schizophrenia for a long time, and it's been taking away things slowly from me. Um, so just staring at that while going to sleep, it's good for the mental too. Good for the good for the mind. Just to see those things and to recognize what life should be. Definitely, I ask God to um, give me back my human emotions, what things that I should have, and to take away things that aren't mine, and and that's been a bit of a hard road too. The voices seem to have played with that. Like for instance, it's probably not the best thing to say, but I wanted to have my natural sexual ability, and it got to the point where all of a sudden now I was getting horny for anyone that I saw anytime, and then the voices would make it seem like I'm raping them or something. So you know um, experiment with that a little bit, I guess. So ask for your stuff back, and then you might have to, let the voices just take it away from you if it's too much to handle. What I definitely had to do too. And what else? What else we got here? Um, if you want to keep yourself awake, I suggest maybe opening up the door, letting in cold air, keeping the air conditioning on high, so it's really cold, even if you have to wear a jacket or snuggle up with a blanket. I know the voices like when you snuggle up with a blanket or get like a little Mickey Mouse shirt going on, and just kind of baby it out there. And then when it gets too cold, turn it off. Go outside in the heat for a little while. Um, the the heat change from cold to hot is invigorating. It's nice to feel too. It's refreshing. It's a nice normal human emotion. And what else have we got here? Um, I listening to motivational tapes, definitely fantastic. Even recording yourself and talking things out, even if it takes you, you know, 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever, you might be talking like, oh, I feel so much and shit, I can't do anything. Okay, I'm starting to feel a bit, oh no, they took me down again, and then here we go, and oh, it's a nice, oh, got a little bit right there, and, then eventually, like, it took me a good 20 minutes to get the fuel to do this, and then you can go, and then you can talk. Okay. Good thoughts. Okay, so there's gonna be a certain point, with my schizophrenia. There was a certain point with my schizophrenia where I was bombarded by so many paranoid thoughts that anytime I went into these paranoid thoughts, it would open up a whole different freaking reality, and then I'd be fighting demons and voices and people that I knew for um, the right to live or something. Like it was something really freaking powerful. I just learned to ignore them and disconnect, and a lot of medication, relaxing tapes, even getting a heat pad for your head to keep yourself relaxed there, or a heat pad for your stomach or wherever. It just feels nice to have a heat pad around. Um, Also, when you go outside, if you can sneak it, maybe get like construction workers have those earmuffs that kind of look like headphones. Some people might think that they're really expensive headphones, so you could wear those. It's always good to kind of disconnect from reality a little, from people outside a little bit, kind of keeping your own world there. Sometimes paranoia is drawn from other people. There's definitely people out there that like to, play games and, um, at this point, uh, definitely at a point, sorry, we're just not strong enough to deal with all the different things that people are saying out there. And so keeping to yourself like that is always good. Um, you might, um, one of the things that I fight for a lot, fight for, ask for with the voices, and is that I don't have my family in my mind because I want to have my family in my life. And I had, so many freaking terrible, horrible thoughts about my family. It was just incredible. I stayed with my family for a long time. It was pretty good. I moved away, and then the thoughts started to compile in my mind, and it was like war with the family, and who was right and who was wrong, and who's going to hell for what, and now we're super people, and we can torture you or whatever it is. Always fight to keep a friendly relationship with the family at home, um, with your family, and yeah, ask for that if anything, with family and friends, that they don't go in your head. If there's gonna be any voices, let it be of people you don't know. That's a good disconnector there, so you can enjoy the relationship with your family. And there might be, I don't know, let me just think. With that little thought there, where you can have that relationship with your friends or family, and the voices aren't going to do it, you can then start to maintain relationships with these people, and you're still going to go through the paranoia, and just don't go into it. And I don't know if I am crazy or what, but one thing that I found, it might be a trick from the voices, is that I found that, well, I'm going to explain a little bit, so to make a little bit more sense as I'm going along. It's almost like, you don't realize it, but your facial expressions and your eye movements and stuff like that, like if you remember when you were a kid, watching people and stuff like that, you could tell what people were pretty much thinking, and that's what's happening right now. We just kind of forgot about it. So, if someone's kind of, let's just say, messing with you a little bit, just remember that, it's pretty obvious what you're going through, for the most part, and that it's nothing special. If you saw someone that looked a little bit sad, you could say, "Hey, you look sad. Oh, did you do something bad?" And fuck with them too. These are just assholes. You need to ignore them, and just know that you're going through something, that you will get better. Definitely knowing that you will get better, hoping you will get better, is definitely good to hold on to. Definitely pushes you in the correct direction. What else do I know? What else do I think? Pushing in the right direction with the hand movements and everything like that. The family and the relationships. Yeah, building on those relationships. You might go through periods where you're not able to, see your friends for a little while. The paranoia might be too much that, um, it's just gonna mess with your head, and that's okay. That's okay. You can back off a little bit, wait for things to cool down, and then you can continue. Remember that you might be getting these paranoid thoughts about all these different things, and to not go into them. Um, not go into them. I found that was the best way. I found trying to fight them just added to the game at a certain point, and I find that every once in a while I was almost given by the voices for not going into the thoughts, or maybe I had a clear mind and taking credit of it. But they definitely do help. Sometimes give you little hints to what you have to do. Um, that could be the voices, that could be God, that could be your good nature. Who knows what that really is? The voices have definitely given me good thoughts to hold on to. Oh, we'll just cancel what I just said there. And good thoughts, and you know, another thing to remember is good thoughts. We'll finish the good thoughts first.
through the disconnecting, and then eventually you might get yourself to a point where you can start saying things um, like um, I've got a double lock on my door, and then sometimes I go outside just to go for a little walk or whatever. And when I come back in, I never remember to put on the top lock. And in my paranoid states, I would think, oh God, someone was in my house when I wasn't. I would think, I would go on my computer or something like that, and then I'd come back to the door and be like, oh my God, my door's unlocked. Was someone in my house when I was on my computer and they unlocked that door, or someone on the outside and they figured out how to unhinge it? Just like little paranoid thoughts like that become little things like that become hard to battle at a certain point, but later on you can start getting more clear and start seeing those things, and there's you can definitely start combating the paranoia one step at a time. Disconnecting, of course, is really freaking important with the right medication and everything. And there's also other things to remember. Like when I was younger, I touched a girl's boob when she was sleeping, and that okay. You've done some stupid things when you were younger, of course, maybe even when you're an adult too. When it comes down to it, what you got to remember is that life is about God and country, so that's the laws that we have in society, and about Jesus too, about forgiveness and about repentance, and about the laws that we have with Jesus, and that you know they got me a long time for little things like I used to whatever go to a friend and that let's just say I borrowed $10 or something like that from him, that the voice would come to me and almost be, well, I don't want to get to, would pretty much say, because you borrowed that $10 from this person, um, they get to pretty much rape you. Or let's just say that I stole a little bit when I was younger. Actually, I stole when I was younger, and that now I'm into this new reality where it is the reality with magical powers and everything, and that um, that they get to rape me now because of the stealing and guilt me into submission and acceptance of that reality. And just to remember that, it's the laws of society and the idea and the beliefs of Jesus that run normal people's lives, and that is just completely bizarre. It doesn't matter really what you've done, unless you've like murdered a couple of people. Um, you know, that you should not be raped, you should not be tortured, you should not be hurt, um, and to get through that emotion. Jeez, and I think that is good for now. Okay, I just wanted to emphasize a little bit on the Christmas lights. Just remembering that, noticing that a little bit of the beauty of things has been lost, I believe, with the voices, and that, staring at the lights and kind of like taking your not staring at it directly, maybe staring a little bit before it, to the sides, maybe putting your hand around it, looking at the very edge of your finger on it, or maybe blurring your vision a little bit of double vision, kind of like just playing with it. Um, Eventually, you'll get to the point where you'll see the beauty of the lights, and that's like breaking a barrier to a certain extent, and it gives you those warm feelings, and it's just really nice to stare at something that's beautiful while going to sleep or something. And let's see. Also, something that was pretty successful for me too was, whenever I saw people around wherever I was, I would just keep in my mind, um, if there's a professional that knows how to play the game really well, that believes in God and country, and that can play in secret. Please help me out, and that worked pretty well.